As Nigeria approaches the 2027 elections, the role of young people is once again in focus, with more than 60% of the population under 35. Now, youth population could shape outcomes, yet barriers remain. High campaign cost, limited access, apathy weakens engagement, and many youths are mobilized during elections but excluded from decision-making. Tonight, we ask the questions: are young Nigerians becoming empowered stakeholders, or are they still political tools? We examine funding challenges, sustained engagement beyond protest, and whether youth activism is translating into real influence. The answers may determine if Nigeria's next election moves its youth from the margins to the center of power. Welcome. This is Politics HQ. I am Adigun Ibrahim. Let's get the answers. Joining me this evening to discuss youth involvement in politics, particularly in lieu of Nigeria's general elections in 2027, is Adigun Ibrahim-Olalekan. He's the chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State. He's also the chairman of Forum of the NYCN State Chairman. It's great to have you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Happy New Year. Let me start with that. I think this is the first time we are seeing this year.
It's good to see you.
As always, thank you, and you too.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's dive in. Let me make reference to the last election. Let's use that as a springboard into the crux of the conversation. And I'll use some statistics here. About 76% of the then newly registered voters between June 2021 and July 2022 were between the ages of 18 to 34 years old, totaling over 7 million voters. Now, this age group made about 39% of all registered voters, approximately, some would even say 40%. That shows you how involved the youth or the young population was in last election. Looking at all of that, from there we even had some of them that were candidates. Over 4,000 youths contested at various positions in the 2023 general elections, and of course the breakdowns are there. But looking at the outcome of that election, the role of the youth as candidates, as voters, and the outcome, would you say there are takeaways, particularly in lieu of other elections that have happened then?
All right, thank you so much. Firstly is that I think we are making some level of significant progress in terms of youth inclusion in governance and politics in our country. The last general election at 2023 had a lot of young people who participated very actively. And you agree with me that at the end of the day, those who emerge after the election, when you tally it with the total number of those who actually contested, is not that encouraging. But what has happened is that after that election, we have seen a surge in the involvement of young people in governance. We see a situation where after that election, the president of the country now appointed an honorable minister who is actually a young person. He was in his early 35, I think around 34 or 35, when he was appointed Minister of State. And that is an example of an awareness, a true awareness of people, the political class, the political elite, of knowing fully well that young people must be involved in politics and governance. And after that election, we have seen situations where across board, across different elections, across party lines, we have seen some level of, efforts made by, of course, political elite to also look for a way, by appointments, by a form of engagement. Young people have been, of course, being given different assignments.
But would you say that the last election did encourage young people to say maybe come out and maybe vote?
Yeah, so it's a two-way thing. So I think before that election, there was high level of energy amongst young people that they want to be part of this. They are going to determine who emerge at the end of the day. So I think in maybe a little bit above average number of young people believe that, okay, the outcome of that election, we are a little bit satisfied. And another segment of young people believe, because if you look at that election, the first three candidates, the first three contestants who emerged at the according to the tally, the president had over 8 million votes, 8-point-something million votes. The other two persons, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Governor Peter Obi, had about 6-point-something million votes. That is to show you that there is huge division in terms of the way young people voted across party lines. So the optimism now is the forthcoming election. Young people believe that they've seen their power. They've seen what their power can do.
So they believe. Do you think they believe that their votes count?
I believe from my orientation and where politics is practiced within, of course, our own demography. I believe that young people, to a certain level, believe that their vote counts. Of course, a huge number of young people believe that, of course, it's the normal rigging that happens in election. But what I tell every young people is that there is no way people rig election where you vote. For example,
it's difficult to rig elections where you vote.
Where you vote is difficult. For example, if you have 100 people who are supposed to vote in this polling unit, for example, and those 100 people actually came out to vote, and they voted 89% of them, let's say 89 of them actually voted for a person, it will be difficult for that election to be rigged. But in a situation where you sit at home at your comfort zone, of course you have your PVC, you register to vote, and you stayed at home during election day, you decided that I'm not going to vote because the election is not, my vote is not going to count. At the end of the day, you are going to give opportunity for people who want to manipulate the process to actually step in, because at the end of the day, what will happen is that instead of us having a situation where 100 people will vote, we will now have a situation where 15 people will now come out to vote. So there is now opportunity for some political manipulators, electoral manipulators, to now step in to say, you that did not vote, we are going to count maybe 10 or 11 or 20 out of your votes and add it to those who actually voted. So you now have a situation where they will now say maybe 45 people voted, and out of the 45 people who voted, in actual sense, maybe 15 people voted. But because of the way our electoral umpire, that's INEC, is going out with the whole thing, we observe that technology is improving, and there is huge difficulty for if you do not vote, definitely the votes won't count. So you have to come out and vote so that your vote will be counted.
All right, now let's look at young persons and them running for office, young persons as candidates. I'll still make reference to last election, general election 2023, and I'll also use some statistics. About 51 youth candidates ran for the office of governors and deputies. 41 youth candidates, that the 51 made about 12% of the total number. 41 youth candidates, about 3.7% ran for Senate, House of Representatives. 674 youth candidates, 21% of that number to, and State House, Assembly, over 3,000 young persons ran for office. Now, they will tell you that elections are not cheap. Unfortunately, in the case of Nigeria, it's heavily monetized. And so that brings me to the issue of godfatherism, or what some people will call political mentors. Maybe I should just put it to you directly. Can you be a politician, or can you run for office in this country?
Yes.
Without a political godfather or even adequate funding?
So I think a lot of us get so many things wrong. When you are contesting for a public office, it comes with a lot of things, and I think fund is the last part of it, as far as the Nigerian contest is concerned, and even in all parts of the world.
Fund is the last part?
Yes, it's the last part. Number one, you have to be popular. if you are going to contest, you have to be popular. If you are not popular in your constituency, in your local government, in your states, in your senatorial districts, then you see contesting for public office as though you require a lot of fund for you to get there. You agree with me that there are situations in this country where some people contested off of the back of volunteerism and contributions, financial commitment from their supporters. So if you are popular in your local government, if you are popular in your ward, there is little to what you can bother yourself about funding, because what happens is that you have organic following. People will say, we are interested in this project. About a few days ago, I saw on the TV where a certain man came out publicly to declare for a political party in Oyo State that is going to be part of that political party. And that man came out and he was saying that he never gave any one person funds for them to be mobilized to a big arena for them to convert. So what it means is that is also practicable everywhere. But if you are not popular, you will need money to make you popular. And that is what affects a lot of young people. So my advice, the advice I always tell to every young people is that before you contest, make sure you are credible. You are popular within your constituency. If you are popular and you are credible, you will run the election, you will run your campaign in such a way that you will spend less of your fund to emerge at the end of the day in office.
But can you also run without a political godfather?
So the terminology political godfather is contextual. So for everybody who wants to be in public office, you must have people who you look at as role model. You must have stakeholders that you also collaborate with for you to get into power. You must have leaders, elders that have done it before you for you to get into power. You must have colleagues. In fact, sometimes we have seen situations where the so to speak godfather is a young person. So we can't say that is a godfather, because the young person have a lot of experience, a baggage of experience in that space. So when you're an elderly person and you want to run within that space, you need the support of that young person. So for example, you want to run for a councillor, you want to run for a local government chairman. So does it mean that you will not need the support of the good boys within the different junctions and tarmacs, as the name implies, within your locality? So for you to emerge in any public office, you need stakeholders, you need supporters, you need mentors, you need guide, people who can support you. So if you call the role model, if you call them godfather, maybe that's a nomenclature that is painted by some people. But if you ask me, I think there's nothing like the so to speak godfather. If you are popular, if you are credible as a candidate, even in a situation where the so to speak godfather do not like you, or you are not their choice, what happens at the end of the day is that they will be left with no other choice but to support you to emerge at the end of the day. There's a lot of stories that you can check online, or you go through books to read about people. In fact, in my local government in Ojolo Ojuwe, where I come from, there's a certain, the immediate past chairman will always tell you that he ran to emerge as councillor without the support of his father at the time. But later his father gave him the support, because at the time the father felt that he's too young to maybe contest within the political terrain, and felt that maybe there are some other people who are more vast and more experienced than him. But because he was credible at the time and he's also competent, he has street credibility. So the stakeholders within that community actually supported the man. Today, he has grew through the ladder. I believe that the so to speak maxim of godfather is not something that we must color too much.
All right, because of what it is. But thank you so much. We'll go on our first break.
Okay, sir.
When we return, we'll look at the role of social media in all of this, and we'll also look at protests. Is there a line that shouldn't be crossed, particularly for young persons. Stay with us, we'll be right back. I still have Adigun Ibrahim-Olalekan, the chairman of the NYCN Lagos State and the chairman of the Forum of NYCN State Chairmen, live in our Lagos studio. It's great to have you still with me. Now, before I let you go, in 30 seconds, let's look at the role of social media, because social media did play a pivotal role in 2023 election, and we've also seen its role too across elections. Social media during elections and protest, particularly involving young persons. 30 seconds, your take.
So firstly, social media is a blessing for us in this country, and we can see that there's a lot of advocacy that has been going all around social media as to preparing young people ahead of the 2027 election and a lot of off-cycle election. The last local government election in Lagos, we had a lot of people who are aware and participated in the process, and we believe that we'll keep the momentum going. Of course, a lot of young people, we are going to use the channel of social media to also use it to engage a lot of young people ahead of the general election in 2027. Of course, protest, I'll say as much as peaceful, it is peaceful. Everybody can, engage in any peaceful disobedience in our country. It should be entertained. But when it becomes destructive or there's no leadership for any gathering, then it becomes a problem, a lacuna within us. And Lagos, for example, we should, in fact, Nigeria at large, something that we cannot manage should not be entertained, because progress can only happen where peace exists. So that's just my own piece of advice. So then I think finally is that as Youth Council, as the organization that we belong to, I believe that we also contribute in our own quota, and we are going to do that too very soon by bringing together youth stakeholders on February 11 under Lagos Youth Talk campaign for them to be aware about the forthcoming election. Thank you.
All right. I mean, youth involvement is practically very key in all of this, but I'd like to say a big thank you for your time on the program. It's been great having you,
Thank you.
Mr. Adigun Ibrahim-Olalekan.
Thank you.